Good afternoon. I'm Rabbi Stephen Fuchs of Bat Yam Temple of the Islands here in Sanibel, Florida, and I'm happy to make this video for my friend Pastorine Martina Ditchrist and her community in Hamburg. First, I do want to let you know that my newest book, And Often the First Jew, has been translated into German, Und oft der erste Jude, about the experiences of Vicky and me over the past 5 years in Germany. Even though we cannot come this year because of the virus, perhaps you can experience some of what we have to share in that book. Pastor Ditchrist has asked about the connection between the Last Supper and the Jewish Passover worship. Truthfully, they are separate events. Scholars have divided opinions over whether the Last Supper was actually a Passover Seder or not. Many say yes, many say no, and honestly, I am not expert enough in biblical history to be able to form my own definitive opinion. 2,000 years is an awful long time to be sure about the historical events. In any case, I do want to share with you the essence of the Passover Seder's meaning. But first of all, I think it is very important for Christians to understand that the symbols of Passover should never lose their distinctive Jewish meaning. It is understandable that Christians see them in a different way, but it is also vital to understand their original purpose. For example, wine in Judaism means only one thing. It is a symbol of joy and happiness, the joy that we feel at our liberation from Egypt. The unleavened bread never represents anybody's body. It is the poor bread, the bread of affliction that we had to eat as slaves. And we use it in our Passover Seder to also symbolize that when we left Egypt, we left very hurriedly. We didn't have time to let our bread rise, and so we eat unleavened bread during the entire week of the festival. The lamb on the Seder plate represents the lamb slaughtered to put the blood on the door of the Hebrews' homes so that the angel of death would pass over, hence the name Passover. It does not represent Jesus in Jewish thought. But for Jews, I think it is very, very important that everybody understand, not just Jews, all of us, what the Passover represents. It is nothing less than a war between gods. The story tells that God went to war for us to bring us out of bondage. If God had not done that, we would all still be slaves. A war between gods. Yes, Pharaoh is worshipped as a god. And those two gods, the Egyptian pagan god Pharaoh and our one God of the Torah, cannot coexist. The values of Pharaoh, the way one worships Pharaoh, is build him store cities, build him pyramids. And if you need slaves to do that, that's fine. If you must beat those slaves to make them work harder, that's fine. And if you have to throw the baby boys into the Nile, as it says in Exodus, to thin out the slave population, that is okay too. In complete contrast to those values are the values of the one living God, a God who wishes us to treat each other with dignity and respect, and for each of us in our own way to use our talents to make this world a better place. In the Passover story, our God triumphs, and so we are all free to live lives with purpose and meaning and to worship God in any way we choose. Now, historians also argue, did this ever really happen? It's an interesting question. And once again, I am impressed by the opinions expressed on both sides. But I will say this, even if someone could prove that historically the Exodus as written in the Bible did not occur, I would still want to celebrate this symbol story of the Jewish people. A story that teaches we must resist oppression, that we can triumph over it, and we can all go forth to freedom, to make a more just, caring, compassionate society on this earth. And so I wish my Christian friends in Hamburg a very happy Easter. I hope that we Jews, even though we will be unable to be together, we will have to celebrate via computer, that we will too have a joyous festival, and that both of our peoples will be inspired by our respective stories to do our best to make this world more the way God has yearned for it to be since the time of creation. A very happy Easter to all of you. It is a pleasure to be with you.